Hey,
Happy
we
birthday,
got me.
Jacob. Happy birthday. I really wanted to say this.
Thank you so much.
Happy
I,
birthday! Is it today?
it's tomorrow for us, but Daniel Moxie is 5 hours ahead of us, so I get the extended
You
birth.
win, Daniel.
Yeah,
There we go. Where is Garan? Because
Happy birthday!
yeah. Thank you. I'm excited. I it snowed here a little bit, just like very lightly, like just a dusting. But I've always wanted it to snow on my birthday. Like growing, I don't didn't really feel that much of a draw as an adult about it, but as a kid, I like desperately wanted it to snow on my birthday, and so I feel like I got it.
As someone from Texas, I understand that so hard. Who also has like a June birthday.
Yeah, yeah. If it's snowing on your birthday in Texas in June, it's not great.
Yeah, no, no.
no,
The
something
end
is
is
wrong,
near.
isn't
Yeah. Well, that was my worry, right? So we're in South Jersey, and we're like pretty much in the heart. Southern half of New Jersey is actually like one of the few like global hotspots um, as climate change becomes more drastic. We're one of the areas that's
Yeah.
already exceeded 1.5 degrees Celsius, and you see it. This area is like has like really tumultuous storms now that it never had throughout all 4 seasons and everything. Um, so I kind of like was resigned. I really didn't expect to see snow at all this year. Um, until maybe April or May, because that happens now. We won't get snow, and then April or May we'll get like 6 inches of snow at the end of winter. Um, but yeah, it's nice. Good way to start. Good way to start the season. End out 1 year of my life. Another thing that I'm excited about. This is like a way to hit the ground running in terms of emotional content. But I'm excited to at least convince myself that I'm not going to be stressed at all tomorrow. That's always been a thing for me, is like not wanting to be stressed on my birthday. And it's sort of a feedback loop, because if you have that thought in your head and you think about it a lot, you'll get stressed. So I've had many
Right.
years in my past where I'm like, oh man, this sucks. Why am I stressed? Or why am I anxious today? Or why am I feeling this way? And it's kind of a feedback loop. But I got that out of the way today. I was dealing with other stressful things. So my plan is to not be stressed tomorrow.
I like that. It reminds me of, Aline, how she's doing those videos
Yeah.
for like theater. One of the things that she talked about, like getting rid of nerves before an audition, and she was like, do a hardcore workout, like go the day of in the morning and do something really high intensity cardio, and like your fight or flight will be too exhausted in order so you're not going to get freaked out because you just won't have it in you. And I feel like that's what you did.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I feel that even just from back in the day, like being in college, I would do that. I had like a really, really strict, almost like ritualistic regimen for how I would prepare for tests and stuff. And that was definitely part of it. Just like get amped somewhere else, and then I wouldn't be able to be that amped or stressed for the test or something.
That's so smart. I feel like I was the complete opposite, where I was like, I need to preserve every ounce of my energy and I need to like stay low. And then that would just make everything worse because I would just have all this energy and be freaking out.
Mhm. Maybe a combination of both. Because I definitely practiced like a get zen, don't cram, don't overstudy, overthink kind of thing.
Yeah,
Mm. But then like right before, usually I would find a way to like let myself get amped. I've been
mm,
missing I've been missing school, which is like a funny thing I never thought I would say. I think I've considered going back to school, but I never thought I'd like miss it in a like deep seated way. And I honestly think it just has to do with the fact that we have no like semblance of normalcy in these times, that
mm.
I'm like, oh well, that would be normal, like that would be like extremely normal. I would have, tons of classes and tons of work and whatever. But um
I totally understand that.
I
Yeah, I feel
think
like I get that feeling every once in a while, but then I'm like, oh wait, no, there was so much
yeah,
I'm really happy that I don't have to deal with anymore.
yeah. Yeah, I would like it down the road. I don't know what though. That's the issue. I I I have there's too many things that work together when I don't have to actually explain them, and the moment I try to make them, like, tangible, they stop being they all stop being cohesive in explaining it, I think. I should get,
That sounds
just before I forget it, I should get Alina in here. That would be amazing.
yes, seriously.
Wow,
She's a force to be reckoned with.
maybe the next one. That'd be really
Yes,
exciting.
highly recommend. 10 of 10.
Yeah, yeah. Do you keep in touch with her?
Yeah, we do. Not as much as when we were roommates, and it got a little like harder as time passed. But
Yeah.
we definitely like check in pretty like a healthy amount.
I didn't realize we were roommates.
Yeah. So do you remember whenever we had a band together?
Yeah, mhm.
Yeah. So in that year, we her, Jana, myself, and two other people. Was it two? Oh my gosh, I can't even remember. One other person. No, two. Yeah, lived in a 5 bedroom, 1 bath apartment
Mhm.
in off Prospect Park.
Wow.
It was very college-esque.
Yeah.
Lots of fun.
Let's, I feel like we just accidentally did, like, a cold open. Let's say hi
Yes.
to I do believe I am not too sure whether or not more people will come. I there are definitely a couple, like, maybes on the list, but we'll just get started. So it looks like we have Brandon here. We got Jana. Hey, Jana. We got John. We got Daniel, and we have Neil. So I guess we'll just go straight down the line. Uh, Brandon, do you want to start with an intro, just your name, your pronouns, and let's do favorite tree again. It can just be in the moment. Doesn't have to be the same tree as before.
Yes. Hello. I was debating whether to jump in on the conversation or not, but hello. I am Brandon, he, him, and I forget what I even said last time to this question, but I feel like maybe bonsai is gonna be my answer today.
Whoa.
Yeah. I completely. Oh wait, was wisteria my? Maybe wisteria. No, wisteria is not a tree though.
Wisteria can be a tree.
Can it? Okay, maybe
Yeah.
Wisteria was my pick last time, so Bonsai is my pick today. But
Wow.
regardless, thank you all for being here, and hello.
So Brandon is this is my intro apparently is further introducing Brandon. As happens, I guess. Brandon is
I love it. I love it.
Brandon's the other half of this whole server. The whole reason that this whole space started up, and that's why his name is colored differently. That's why he gets his own name color. I am Jacob. He, him, his. And today I am sitting in my bedroom because Brandon in my studio is inaccessible. So I'm in a home studio and I'm looking at my mango tree, which I am very, very proud of. I've had her for 3 years. She's like almost 4 feet tall, and her name is Petra Mangosephine. And I'm gonna say that Petra is my favorite tree. Um, I think next is Jana. Jana, I don't know if you're. I see a. I don't know if you
Yo,
want to talk. Hey, cool.
my name's Jana. Pronouns she, her, hers, and then I've been seeing a lot of Christmas trees, so I'm gonna go with that.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Perfect. John, it looks like you're up. If you want to say something. Oh, maybe not. Daniel, I see you're
Yeah,
ready.
I am. Because I remember what I said last time, but at least this time I know exactly what the tree is. So
Okay.
I had time to Google the name. So I'm Daniel, he, him. My favorite tree is definitely an almond tree.
Oh, damn.
Almond trees, especially when they when you have all the flowers that blossom and they're all white. I
Mm,
absolutely love them.
it's a beautiful pick.
That's it.
That's a
But
fantastic.
I did like the Christmas tree thing. That was good.
Hi. Everyone had me chuckling. Also, does your mango tree produce?
Not yet. I think it's probably because currently she doesn't like that I have winters uh, with
Ah,
with very limited light. But once we move into our new studio, I actually have um, like a full spectrum light, and I'm going to give her the light she deserves. But some mango variants do start producing after 3 years, and she's 3 years old, so that would be extremely nice.
that is so exciting. That, I mean, to have a tree who's just giving you mangoes all the time, I mean, what more could you ask for?
Nothing.
Okay, so my name is Nayem. My pronouns are she, her, or they, them. Whatever. There's no like you could say whatever because ultimately labels don't really matter for me personally. And my favorite tree would have to be a sevia tree. Um, they're native to South America, and parts of Africa. And they're like the Mayan tree of life. And that's on my mind because I just wrote a song, like a few months ago about sort of what that tree symbolizes, or I incorporated it in there, and so yeah, a Ceibia tree.
Could you spell that?
Yeah, it's Ceiba.
I'm looking it up, and I'm going to.
They're beautiful. They're beautiful. I think one of the I might be wrong, but one of the oldest, or one of the biggest trees in the world, I believe, is a Ceibia tree.
Wow,
One of the tallest. Yeah.
what a
I just
good.
looked it up. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aren't they amazing?
So this could easily take us off track for like 4 or 5 hours. But one of my favorite things is I'm a big fan of like mythology as it relates to cultural significance and all of that, and
Mhm.
getting I really get jazzed on just like getting to see like interplay between cultures and things. But like man, like trees of life and like what trees are decided for what reasons in what regions is like the greatest thing in the world to me. That's such a fantastic thing.
Yes. Yeah. I've really like sunk my teeth into that a lot recently too, especially being out here in Atlanta, because
Mhm.
I don't know if you've been around, but like I mean, you're in a forest. They just like paved a few highways through and like a spot for some buildings. I mean, that's obviously an exaggeration, but like there are just trees everywhere. They're so tall, and I just get so tripped out at the fact that like these trees have seen so much more than we have.
Mm,
They've seen like lives and generations of us that we had no idea, things that happened. I just feel
yeah.
like they hold a lot of the sacred, you know, truths of the earth. But yes, you're right. We could go on a forever tangent, so maybe
Well,
not.
so my my true overall favorite tree is the willow, which I have also a song about, um, and it's because of some myths that like I deeply relate to, or which I guess I should say relate deeply to me, in that was the tree that that's like a tree of the underworld. It's the tree that signifies
Mm.
like the tree of life in the sense that it can reincarnate pretty much. There's this wild thing about willows that however big their like arbor is, however big their treetop is, their root system is 2 to 3 times larger than that.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
And they're huge, aren't they?
they can be pretty big. They don't get super tall, but they get big. So their root systems are very large.
Wow.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is amazing.
yeah. So it tracks that that like old peoples would have like looked at that or seen like a root ball come up in after a storm and been like, oh, this thing is going deep, it's going down.
Yeah, seriously.
But yes, we will not keep going. So Neil, I believe it, and then we'll flip back around to Garang. Hi Garang, it's nice to have you. If you're willing to talk with us today. Um, but let's do Neil.
Hey,
It's name, pronouns, favorite tree, favorite of the moment. It seems.
So, yeah, I just want to greet you too, Jacob, because it's 12 hours ahead here. So, happy birthday, man! And
Oh,
aside
thank
from that, yeah. So my name is Neil. So, pronouns are he, him, and my favorite tree as of the moment is because I just visited my old college. It would be an acacia tree. It's a
you.
thing. It's a tree that grows around Asia and I think in Mexico as well. And it's a really big tree. Like my college is like littered full of it, and it just covers almost the entire area. So basically, if it's really hot outside, we can just hide. Basically, we don't really get hot because the trees are just so big and the foliage is just so big that it just covers the entire area, and it's pretty awesome.
That's wonderful. I'm looking at these and I see one of the names commonly known as mimosa, and I know we have a version here that's probably quite a bit smaller than those, but it's very similar. Does the ones that you have, Neil, does it flower those like very weird like
Yeah, like those flowers that are really like red and like striking. I don't know. It's really nice to see them bloom with those flowers. There's just it's like they look like fire trees when they bloom.
wow, so good. I'm gonna copy a picture for this too. I feel like grandpa. um,
Those leaves are amazing.
yes, that's fantastic. Extremely good tree. um, Grang, if you're last up, if you're interested in name, pronoun, and favorite tree.
First of all, we're 5 hours into 10th December, so happy birthday, Jacob.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, so my name is Goran. Pronouns are he, him. And my favorite tree is this time I have a name. It's the pine tree which grows up in hills, which is very, very, very long. And something it's just something that whenever I go up to the hills because I love going up to the hills because they're like 6 or 7 hours away from 6 or 7 hours of a drive away from my house from my city, and whenever I go up there and all the pictures I click, all of them have like either if it's during the nightfall or during the time where the light is a little bit less, they form a great silhouette which I absolutely love seeing. So like yeah, I would say these are the favorite trees I have.
That's very beautiful. I'm always happy starting with favorite tree. It always makes me smile. um, all right, let's get into it. I'm always really very grateful with our little intros, even if they seem silly. They're just such a little good little warm up. Um, so Nayem, do you wanna tell everybody a little bit about yourself in your own words?
Yeah, for sure. I might drop out here for a second. Hopefully not, but my headphone gave me the little like do do do. So it might if I drop out for a second, it'll only be momentarily.
Okay.
But hello, my name is Nayem. Um, I was born in Texas, and I moved to New York like 3 years ago. So that's where I'm currently residing. I am an artist of. I'm an artist of many different paths. So I currently find myself really resonating with songwriting, singing, and guitar playing. But I also have spent a lot of time acting and went to school for that for a while. I also have like a love for painting and poetry. So it just mainly whatever I get obsessed with at the moment, but music has been my girl from very young. So yeah, and yeah, a little bit, I guess. Something that I've learned this year with my art is that like I can use it as a tool for reflection, to understand myself better, my point of view, to like chew on things, and yeah, that's really where it lies right now for me. It's really like a tool for me to be able to know how I feel before anything else, and have an understanding of myself, um, and then I am more able to share. So yeah, that's me.
Mm. I that really resonates with me. A brief disclaimer, I guess. Nayem and I generally will do a chat, um, brief chat with the upcoming resident artist uh, in preparation for our chats, these chats. And Nayem and I talked on the phone for like 2 hours, I think, the other day. It was great.
Yes.
We haven't talked for quite a while, and it was really nice to catch up and to see similarities and to realize like, oh wow, you think this way too. But so it's now obvious that for me that it really resonates, like what you're saying about um, just I guess understanding your maybe if I'm going to paraphrase this poorly, but like understanding your feelings pre-verbally through your art.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel very strong.
And if having like a sense of self, I think, um,
Mm,
especially in like this age of everything being very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like everything wanting to be a post, like being able to post it, you know?
yeah.
I don't know the word I'm looking for. It's like kind of face value a little bit.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think some people would say like performative, but I don't think it's so much that. It's maybe the feeling of performative, instant gratification.
mhm.
Um, yeah, I guess let's start there. Like, I would love to open up the floor with that, and then we can go in any direction any of you are interested in going in. But I wonder how much that resonates with any of you other fellow creators or thinkers. Just the concept that you can access something pre-verbally through the work that you make. And I'm sorry to interject here too. I'm just remembering that John didn't get the chance to. Okay, thank you. John didn't get the chance to do his intro, and so I'm gonna read his. John, he, him. Not a tree, but recently learned that my family name can be translated in some way to the hawthorn group of shrubs, plants, maybe trees. That is extremely good.
Yeah,
I
that's so cool.
I love a good name origin story. That is fantastic stuff. Um, cool. I'm glad we got that. I'm glad that you were able to give us that, John. Thank you. Yeah, let's open up that dialogue. Love to hear other points of view. I guess that's a big no. So, um, well then, okay. So
I'm willing to talk on it, but I also want to like leave the floor open, if
yeah.
anyone wants to.
I can repeat too. We were just talking about the idea that like that your art can resonate with sort of like yourself or your deeper desires or being maybe faster or quicker, more directly than you might be able to like verbally. I'm wondering. I guess I know it seems like a very ephemeral question to ask, but I'm just wondering if other people have any thoughts on that or want to speak on that. You know, writing a song and kind of looking in reflection on it, uh, and being like, oh, in that moment, I actually felt this, and I still do, and I didn't realize I did until I wrote that song, or taking a video or taking a photo or something, and being like, oh, I think even photo, even and especially something like photo, which you might not overtly realize can be that sort of journal keeping. The choice of
Yeah.
how you take a photo, when you take a photo, why you take that photo. In reflection, it's like there's something so extremely nostalgic in the deepest sense, and how we relate to that. Um,
I think one thing that's somewhat related in a sense, but I thought it might be important to sort of mention is like I I feel nostalgia, especially coming out of projects that can be other people's work as well. Like especially like being in theater, the time that I spend in inhabiting other people's work, the way that I felt during that process, the relationships that I developed during that process, finding myself in respective ways during that process, the way that that piece, someone's work, resonates with me after the fact, I think is really profound. Like thinking about a specific play or a specific musical that I just associate with so many feelings or a specific point in my life, I find that personally to be powerful.
yeah, I feel that deeply. I think that's maybe the way that relates is even for me, and Naya, maybe you feel the same way. Like even on my own music, I actually like through not only will I learn something one time about who I was, but then as I continue to play it, I relate to that person who wrote it differently, and I still continue learning about
Mm.
myself. So there are points now where it's might be 3 years out from some of my earlier stuff in this sort of iteration of my music making, and I might have learned one of the lessons, but now when I play some of that stuff, I'm learning new lessons all over.
Yeah. And there's something that happens for me, at least as I like get older and like look back at things, is like I don't realize that I'm learning something. I'm just like doing the thing. And then it's really cool later to go back and be like, oh, this was that thing that taught me that, whatever it may be. And it's like forever captured here, whether it be a lesson, learned something about myself, like a new chord, voicing, something like that. Like it's sort of like solidified in that thing. Same way a photograph sort of captures something still forever. And which also brings me to this thought of like, um, when you write something, sometimes the feeling is not going to be the same. Maybe like a year from then, or whatever, and sort of like still like loving that work, even if it doesn't resonate in the same way. You look back at it more as like a timestamp instead of a this is currently how I stand, this is currently how I feel, uh, type thing.
Yeah, that used to scare the shit out of me, to be honest. Like I didn't
Yeah.
understand it. And I would think, I mean, really the example is I would see like really super famous guys, or I would work with, really famous guys as like a sound engineer, and they'd be, kind of like they'd be old and like very obviously like war torn from being super famous and like whatever, and very obviously not into the work anymore. And it used to scare me because I used to think like, oh, after you play a song for 50 years, do you just hate the song? Like, is that just inevitable? And what I'm thinking about now is like, no, they just, I mean, to be brutally blunt, they just didn't have self-worth. Like they they just did not have they don't I don't think they were cultivating a relationship to self, and that's why they hated the work, because
Mm.
the art that you make is portraiture, and if you can't love a picture of yourself many years before, you got to work on that.
Oh my god, absolutely. Yes. That's sort of what I was kind of sewing into when I first introduced myself, where I think that's been my big lesson. And we talked a little bit about this, but this year for me has made me realize more than anything that, like, if I'm not serving myself as an individual, as a person, just totally taking care of myself, then like I'm not going to be able to show up in the ways that I want to for my art, for other people. So yeah, like perspective has been such a I told you, like, intention and perspective has been such a really important thing for me this year to sort of take 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 not control of, but actively practice perspective, actively practice intention, um, and that translates to myself as well.
Mm. Yes. Yeah, I want to quickly interject too and say something I try to say about these chats, but I should probably say it much more frequently, is that as a conversation starts to seemingly enter into a space that's very like uh, medium specific, like music, like me, Jacob, talking to Nayem, musician, both of us musicians. Please still always feel free if this isn't your field to like to interact and relate and like and just interject. If you want to like say, oh, excuse me, I want to say something on this, because really my feeling about these workshops is that it's always about the fact that no matter what no matter what the medium for conducting that 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 holiness that inner whatever through yourself in the form of art, it's always the same. It's always us, it's just in a different shape.
Totally.
John has a
So
note here that says, note, if I'm not serving myself, I'm not going to be able to show up in the ways that I want to. Yes.
Yeah, so we
some
have oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask all the different mediums that are in the room. I want to make sure that I got them all. So we have cinematographer, we have musicians. What am I missing?
Yeah, that should actually be, I'm realizing now that should actually be part of our introduction, shouldn't it? I guess let's take a moment and do that again. If Garang, if you want to start, and then it seemed like you had something you want to say. But if you want to do like quick medium,
Yeah.
be Garang, Brandon, Jacob, Jana, John, Daniel, Nayem, Neil. We'll just go in that order if that's okay.
Yeah, so I make videos on YouTube for relating to tech and explaining to everyone how one particular device can contribute to their life or improve it or bring value to them in some way or the other. So the thing I had to say was that, just coming back to the earlier question of nostalgia, that whenever you see something old or see something that you've made before and the things it bring back to your head, something that I had relating to that in my mind was that, still considering that I consider myself an infant, because it's been what, 7 months into making these videos. What I've realized is that each and every video for me, along with serving as a nostalgia of the place I was in, or the thing I was doing, or the feeling I had in my head, or the nervousness I had in my head while I was working on that project, because it was the first or the second or the third project. What it also does is it is able to signify the level, or the basically the skill I had, or basically the level of the
Mm.
how much I knew about this particular art that I'm involved in. So every video after, or every project after, I see how much further improved I was along through the journey. And so it's just a way to reflect on my journey and to see where I've come from and to see where I'm going, and just to form like a particular trajectory in my head that, yeah, this is the way I'm going so far.
Yes. I'm like smiling ear to ear.
Yeah,
What
me
a
too.
what a gift that you get to have that. I'm so glad that you're there. Brandon, do you wanna talk about your art form?
Oh yes. I mean, I feel like I always struggle to answer. I mean, Jake and I have had conversations about this, but I mean, largely I consider myself a video maker. But I'm also an actor, and I feel like the topic of nostalgia is something that I guess it pops up regularly for me,
Mm.
regardless of what I'm doing. Um, I don't know. I guess I feel like every time I create something, regardless of whether I'm in a show or um, I'm just, a small part of a show or I'm creating a video, it feels like small snapshots of that time, that moment of who I am. And it's really fascinating and humbling to think back to those moments in time. Does that sort of answer the question?
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh yeah. I've been experiencing that in a big way, even just with the work that you and I make, that I make with you, Brandon. Even just
Likewise.
yeah, in the sense that like we're kind of this is a different conversation, but we're coming to like the end of an era, sharing one studio in one way, um, and we've made a ton of videos, and I definitely feel that nostalgia when I look at that, like sort of like Garang was saying, that there's a lot of technical stuff I learned. There's a lot of just collaborative stuff I learned, getting to work with a collaborator in a different field. And I had a funny moment. Brandon recently, like a week or two ago, released a video that we worked pretty hard on. Um, that really turned out much better than I could have expected. Uh, and and I like watched it. I showed Claire, my girlfriend, and I watched it, and I actually had a moment where I was like, "Oh baby, I'm gonna feel some nostalgia for this one later."
Yeah, it's funny how like I don't know, I guess the concept of nostalgia hits in different ways all the time, but like I guess I mean specifically building on what you're saying, like about like I guess moving out of this office and like thinking about the past like almost 2 years now of like
Yeah.
being in each other's professional like creative lives. Like it's so much to think back on, and it's so much to like to have perspective on now. Um, but yeah, this is a very relevant topic right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think it always is. I mean, that's something I would argue. Uh, will argue until I die that it's always relevant. Because what are we besides our memories? Um, but
Mm.
uh, but yeah, that's beside the point. So I guess yeah, I make music, I make words, I make moments. I think that's probably it, right? Like that's something I really try to lean heavily into is capturing just moments and trying to play with um, how incredibly magic it is that we get to make art that doesn't function as linearly as we have to function every day. Um, that's my medium. Jenna, if you want to introduce your medium, you can.
Yes. I'm a musician and I play in a Broadway show, like I play percussion, but that's closed down right now, so I've been video editing virtual orchestra videos mainly. And then I also write music and play different instruments and stuff like that. Yeah.
Virtual orchestra.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Pretty fun.
Are you doing the editing for like a group that you had worked with, and then you're editing it together?
I did one for Side Story, the show that I'm in, but it's mainly other people like theaters and choirs and like community orchestras. Since they can't play together, have to make these virtual kind of videos that we've all seen. So they like record from and send everything to me, and then I sync it all up, make it pretty and all that.
That's so fun.
Yeah, it's pretty. I like it.
That's so cool. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
John, I don't know if you're micless today, but if you want to talk about your stuff.
Hey, hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. I guess like Brandon, it's also a topic of concern. Maybe because I've dabbled in different fields quite a lot. But maybe primarily I am a visual designer. I guess that encompasses most of the kinds of work that I do. And on the topic of nostalgia, I guess I'm gonna bring in imposter syndrome
Oh yeah.
because,
Yes.
well, at times I understand that kind of nostalgia that you get like after a project is finished, especially one that you have worked on for 3 months, and then I also work in video production and stage and light design. And whenever everything is done, I get sad that it's done. But um, when I feel like sometimes when I reach a certain point of mastery, or not really mastery, but I mean knowledge and skill level in a certain field, I feel so unsure. I mean, I guess the more that you have learned about it, the more you realize that you don't really know anything about it. And the more people that you meet, sometimes it can make you question whether or not you were really, you know, even a little bit as good in the first place. And what really helped me at times is I am a very nitpicky when it comes to archiving my stuff. So I have tons of archive projects in the past, and sometimes I just randomly open a folder or randomly just look at what I worked on exactly a year ago, and then I remember, oh, okay, maybe I improved a bit. Maybe I'm actually at least good at this. That maybe I should, stop doubting whatever skills I have right now. But it's tough. Sometimes it's difficult to balance also what you are nostalgic about, because there are some projects which I may have loved in the past also paints a different picture right now, rather, because of the people you have worked with. Maybe you're not in good terms with them anymore. Maybe it's because it's a project that has been you worked on it but it has been canceled. That happened a few times. So it's finished but it was not produced, it was not released. And then sometimes it's just really uh, when you think about happiness, you think about a certain level that you've achieved in the past. And then somehow nostalgia makes you think that, oh, I was that happy at the time, but why am I not as happy right now? Maybe I'm not in the right path. Maybe this thing that I'm trying to do or make or learn isn't really my calling. Sometimes you get into those kinds of panic attacks. And COVID this year, 2020, basically just unraveled a lot of that for me. So, yes, nostalgia is both a good thing and maybe sometimes can be a bad thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
Yeah, seriously.
I think there's so much there. I should have taken notes. I was just like
I know,
staring up
right?
because of the things you were saying. They were very good things. I think
It,
connection
it's okay. We have a recording.
here, this is I forgot that. uh, yeah, I think the concept of happiness being derived or related to the success of our progress
Oy.
is very complicated. And it's not a false one. It's just extremely complicated. Wow. I want to circle back to that, I think. Um, Daniel, I don't know if you're willing to turn your mic on.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say, to be honest, guys. Because every time I told Jacob this before. Every time I hear you guys talking, I don't consider myself an artist in any way, shape, or form, especially when I see what other people do. So I started taking some pictures years and years ago when I was a kid, and I started then making some videos as well. And it was for me more of a way of venting, to be honest, at the end of the day, just to have some time for myself, exploring, trying new things, and suddenly it became more of a passion. And yeah, that's basically what I do. I do it for myself. I do publish some of the videos, but it's more about keeping them. I'm starting to shoot some stuff like videos of Nathan and all that stuff, just to have some memories in the future. But that's mainly what I do. And again, every time I hear all of you guys talking about the experience, I just it's another level, definitely.
Mm. I think that's so interesting because I think I've probably every time you said that I've probably had a response. But I think that I think something that's really powerful, at least in the way that I think about it, and actually Nayem and I were speaking on this the last time we talked. I think that I deal in the currency of moments of community. Um, I think that's the only thing that really feeds me, whether that looks like art, in the sense of I am playing a song and somebody is receiving it and that feels good for both people, or whether that looks like a smile when I'm not wearing a mask and we're not in a pandemic in a market, um, or it looks like whatever an act of kindness. I think that's the commodity. That's the currency of community, and I think that is the basis for all art. Uh, and so I guess just to put a spotlight, at least on how I perceive you, Daniel, um, you know, Brandon and I have talked about this at length to you or at you about how welcoming and inviting your videos are, and how like we could just watch you talk about product forever because you do a really good job of inviting your viewer. Um, and I think that there's nothing more art than that. The invitation to experience something in a peaceful way is it.
I wasn't really looking for that. It just
I know you weren't. I know you weren't. That's why I told you if you were looking for it, I wouldn't have said it.
started that. I don't know. I think I don't know how it started for all of you guys. That would actually be a good thing to know. But it was more of a way of instead of watching TV, um, just being, as I usually say, me myself and I. And that's it.
Yeah, yeah. I think the stories of beginning art making are often much less romantic than they
Yeah.
seem. But let's get to Neil too. Neil being the last one.
So yeah, I'm not sure if everyone knows, but I'm a musician as well. So I play in a band called People, and the things that we talked about really hit a lot of things for me because like the topic of nostalgia itself, because um like every time I do music, I'm just gonna share a little inside info about me because like every time I do music, especially nowadays, somehow it makes me remember about my past because I
Mm.
think I've shared this with Jake before and a few other people, but I was supposed to go to music full time. Right now, I'm a medical student, so I'm planning to become a doctor. But when I was in high school, I was planning to do music like full time. I was already accepted into a conservatory, and I had my music teacher. He wanted to bring me to because he was getting uh, tenure and he was gonna be a professor in Europe, and he wanted to bring me with him. But things got a little complicated there, and I did not take that route. So I went to medicine because for me, music is a way to help other people, like be able to comfort other people. And I tried to find another way to do that through music, through medicine. And yeah, nostalgia. Like, once I was set on my path to do medicine, I literally stopped playing like for 4 years. I think my entire college life or undergrad, like I barely played at all. So
Mm.
I'm a pianist, but I also play guitar and violin, and I literally just like stopped doing anything related to music because somehow it made me feel ashamed that hey, this should be the path that you should have taken, but yeah, you didn't do that. And like up until now, like when I do music, it just makes me feel like uh you turned your back on this. Why do you want to do this again and all that? And yeah, like it's a lot of thoughts. I'm so sorry guys for the jumble of thoughts that I'm throwing at you, but yeah, nostalgia is like what John was saying, it's a double-edged sword thing where huh, it just makes it hard to comprehend some stuff, especially when you've got two things that are conflicting in your life. Like for now, right now, like um there's this thought that I don't want to do medicine anymore. I don't know. Because it's just maybe feeling lost and losing like I don't know. Medicine has like I don't know, Jake has talked about this for a while before. And medicine has become like dehumanized in a big way, and I'm
Mm.
seeing some stuff in music that is doing the same, like especially for like bands that are upcoming, because apparently my band is getting some weird stuff from other people that I don't know where it's coming from, but yeah. And I'm so sorry for all that sharing, but aside from that, I just miss doing music as well, especially in quarantine, because here in the Philippines we were in quarantine since March. Technically, we're still not out of quarantine. So my bandmates and I haven't met up for like I guess 9 months,
Wow.
somewhere around those 9 months, and I just miss doing music because there's this thing that we do every time we finish a song, like finish recording everything, and then we finish like mastering and producing everything. We would just listen to our song the entire night until we just slept and died because of how tired we were. But we just woke up really like I don't know, amazed at how we were able to do this art. So I guess that's how my thoughts on what we talked about before.
Mm.
I'm sorry if it was a bit crappy. I'm still
No,
it's still really morning for me.
no, dude,
I'm a
that's
I'm
And
a
real,
it made
and
me
I
think
appreciate
about
you
a lot of
for
things.
I
Oh
appreciate
yeah,
you for sharing
sorry,
that.
Ren.
No, I was just saying that that's real as hell, and I appreciate you bringing that here and sharing that with us.
Absolutely. And like no one I f- I can I'm gonna speak for myself. I can really resonate with a lot of what you said. And I think it also kind of connects to a little bit of uh is is Moxie's name? Are you David? Is that
Daniel.
right?
Daniel.
Daniel. Daniel. Um yeah, I think there's a little bit of a through line there, and it brings back this conversation to like imposter syndrome or like what you have to be an artist. Um, bec- because I almost like don't like even saying that I'm an art. I don't want to say that. I just like to think that I'm like a explorer, and it just so happens to like come out in these different ways, and it's just my journey. And it's really bothersome when you think a lot about the face value of things. Sorry, 1 second. Me and Jen are in the same room. I'm gonna ask her something really quick. There was an echo and I could like hear myself. Anyway, Jan and I are Jan is my partner and we are in a band together called Oat Milk. So that's what just happened there. But yeah, I find that my understanding of being an artist is expanding to like, you don't need to constantly be doing that thing, and you can walk away from it and you can come back to it, and you can have this like ever fluid sort of dance with whatever your art form is, or pick up something and then put it down and then pick up something else, and then like that's just your journey. And you talking about your movement between medicine and art, I'm also like, ooh, art is medicine, and you're doing that dance with the two, which I think is really beautiful. And I can totally understand like stepping away from it and being like, what what do I call myself now? I'm not doing that thing, being pulled in these different directions. But I think you're just as valid of an artist. And Jacob and I talked about this the other day, where everybody is an artist. I teach children, like babies, and I see the way they interact with music, and it's you don't have to teach it. It's they understand. And so if art is that borderless, then aren't we all artists? Just the same way as like when you can speak a language, you can understand that language. Everyone speaks that language, even if that person can't speak it back. I don't know where I'm getting here. Now I'm talking, but
I think too, it's like, one, I'll say Neil, as somebody who spent time away from music to do a different art for a little while, it really gave me perspective to. I might have even said this in the past with you, but it gave me such a perspective on what I needed from my art forms. I think like Nayem, I almost want to say like my conduits, like I want to use a word that's not art, but like the thing that I practice, it gave good perspective on like how I interact with those things by leaving them, by leaving music
yeah.
and then returning to music. It was like, oh, this is the thing I've needed. This is the food, um,
Mm.
and I think it hurts. It hurts when you're away from that. Uh, and so I'm sorry that you're experiencing what seems like a very similar pain. I'll also say like something that just struck me is thinking about like storytelling and like the storytelling through the ages, right? Cultural storytelling. Like there's the motif of like the hero's journey is one of the main myths, one of the main means of storytelling we use all the time. For thousands of years, and part of it, one of the interpretations could be like the prince who comes from the family who's out of touch with the people, who leaves with nothing to go join the people to gain perspective, and is able to come back to, right. That's the hero. That could be considered an aspect of the hero's journey. I'm almost imagining like I feel like if I was more highfalutin, if I was like a hoity-toity like artist who was very like willing to pat myself on the back, I'd be like, I'm gonna make a book and call it like the artist's journey or something. But it feels very much the same to me. Like the hero's journey and the artist's journey kind of are always this like one and the same, in the sense that like I think very often our journeys are like orbiting ourselves, like leaving and coming back, leaving and coming back. picking something up and putting it down, picking something up and putting it down. And while I think that, you know, to really to really individuate and like talk on how much I don't know about your experience. Sorry. Let me drink some water real quick. You know, I think like the gravity of your situation is a unique one for sure, right? Like the fact that you're talking about having difficulties in one of your mediums, in one of your conduits versus the other one. And one of them is a very large commitment versus the desire to be fed by human contact in by way of collaborating on a song, you know. Very real for this year. For any time, but for this year it's very real.
One thing I wanted to ask, Nayem, you said that you are an educator in the sense of like teaching younger children. What would you say is like one of the most I don't know, justifying things or beautiful things that you experience in that?
Oh my God. Are you trying to make me talk for like 2 hours? Okay.
I mean, I can.
Jacob and I were I'm gonna keep saying that. Basically, just we talked for like 2 hours, so there'll be a lot of repeating for you, Jacob. But
It's okay.
the oh man, so much of the magic of being around a child when they're first experiencing something. There's just nothing like it. You know, we play a lot of songs, whether it's like the like originals from the it's a small it wears like a small little company of like 4 or 5 people, and so it'll either be like the original music, or it'll be, you know, the classics or whatever. And a lot of times, like my version of like a Beatles song or whatever is this kid's first interaction with that song. And to get to see how that affects them, and to get to see, because they're such visceral sort of response little humans, like they don't they don't think about anything. They don't think about how it's coming off. They don't think about being polite. They don't think about manners. They just are very, very true to their emotions and very true to their state and the way things affect them. And there's a really cool interaction that happens there that it was like one of my favorite things to take from playing live with the kids is like listening to the quote unquote audience, listening and paying attention and like connecting. And when you do it with kids, it's like a whole other level, because, you know, people, you know, adults who are watching your show, a lot of times they want to be polite and stuff. And like working with them made me realize that you can find that conversation no matter where everybody is individually. Bye.
Hey, Daniel. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, thank you so much.
So yeah, it's, and I just think they remind me of that thing, that reason that I'm attracted to art. And it's because that, like many people, like I had like a childhood that was, you know, I had a dad who played a lot of guitar. He was a little closed off, but he played guitar, and I always like loved listening, even if the door was closed or whatever. And then I found like, oh, I want to play, and I want to share it with my dad, and I want to share it, you know, with people, and I want to have that conversation. I want to be like my dad. And then, you know, to like see these kids do that, but with me, is like crazy, you know. And it's just like I think it just makes me realize how music is truly, and art just generally is a true connector. There is no language barrier. There is no age restriction. It is truly a loving, fluid thing that has many forms. It doesn't necessarily always look like love, but in the end, the children's understanding of experiencing art and like being in conversation and being curious is like something that I never want to lose. And it took losing that a little bit, like picking the guitar up and putting the guitar down. It was that sort of thing where I went into a funk and I really did lose that sort of love and curiosity. And it's always the damn kids that bring me back. I mean, there's just nothing like it.
That's very wonderful. I almost want to derail for half a second because I maybe I just want a clarification on an idea. But you said something like talking about like the generalization of music and art having no language barrier and it being love even if it doesn't sometimes it doesn't sometimes it's not love or isn't representing love or doesn't look like love and
Mhm.
that is an interesting thing to say. Could you talk on that a little more based on what you were saying exactly?
Well, because what is that saying that like love is hate's not the opposite of love, apathy is?
Yes.
And passion, in my understanding of it, is linked originally. Like you can maybe not as it is now, but if you really peel back the layers, like you go therapist on yourself, um, you, you sort of learn that it's all connected to love. Any sort of passion that you feel, even if it's like hatred. And like I'm sure like everyone at some point was like, I hate my parents. Um, and I've said that and I mean it's not true. I love my parents, but in that moment I felt like a fiery pain, like tinged type love. And or feeling a lack of love that made me get very passionate. So that's sort of what I mean where it's like if you are moved, I think there is love somewhere in it. Even if you are
Yeah.
moved in a quote unquote negative way, seeing somebody or be hurt by another person and that moves you, somebody wouldn't say like that was like an act of, you wouldn't connect that automatically to love, but it is the fact that like you want human beings to be kind to each other, to be loved, to be loving, and that is what hurts. It may not feel like it in the moment, but like that is maybe that's not the best example, but yeah, that's what I sort of mean.
No, that makes sense. I figured that's what you were saying, but I wanted to hear you say it. Yeah, we spoke. Now I'll do it, but we spoke at great length about the complexity of love, which probably is something I could say about any conversation I have with anybody anymore. That's kind of all there is, especially in a time where we really need to be cultivating that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, passion, being all of the different faces of love, the different aspects of love. Um, and so I guess not to derail too far, but to get to see that, uh, in the faces of these children is I guess what you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh my god. And then, we're talking about love. It's like a child loves you immediately,
Yeah.
whereas like when you're dating somebody, it's like, well, it was like 8 months too short of a time to say I love you. Like it's like with the children, that's an immediate understanding of like I either am super happy and in love with everything or like I need to poop or I need to cry. And it's like I just love that sort of like visceral, like human honesty. Visceral is not the word, but just like realness. Um yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we could. There's something to be learned about from that. Like every
And
single fucking day.
yeah, and it comes back to that idea of nostalgia, which oh my god, there's so many great things that everyone said when we were like going through. Oh hey, John just said something about nostalgia. Yes, exactly. It's exactly what I was gonna say.
Okay, I'm gonna read it out loud so that it's recorded as well. There's also the nostalgia of those who we were in youth. Remember how innocent, uncaring, adventurous kids we were? Like how art wasn't anything that someone told us or even love, but something that we declared. Yes.
Absolutely. yeah, I was going to bring back this conversation to nostalgia and how sort of like at least in my experience, I grew up playing guitar and I always wrote songs when I was just feeling something, when I was feeling passionate about something. And as I got older, I got like more angsty, or, if I was upset at somebody, which I often was, I would like let it out there. But I wasn't thinking about it. And it wasn't like a title. And the adults around me understood, like my parents understood, like, oh, she is writing music. That's really cool. This will be nostalgic. But like for me in that moment, I was just feeling what I needed to feel, putting it somewhere. And I guess I was sort of like therapying myself without realizing it. That's not a word. Um, but yeah, the definition didn't matter. And then now with time, when you get more self-aware, you begin to be nostalgic for that time. And then because you're being nostalgic, you're like missing this moment. And then like later on, you'll be nostalgic for like that time that you weren't being present, or like you were feeling really nostalgic. Like I will have that. I will have like loops of nostalgia like that. And it's a freaking it's a mind fuck, if I can say that.
First again.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is mindfuck.
And I think that is why it's so important to collect, I guess, every once in a while and put it somewhere, whether it be in a picture or a song or a poem.
Filter feeders.
Mm.
To collect, to just slowly collect what you see and then deposit it.
Yeah.
Sort of leave it somewhere and be able to return to it. It's like footholds, as you climb the mountain.
Mm.
I'm thinking in conversation about all of this, especially centered around you as an educator. I'm thinking this is like a funny parallel nostalgia. I experience this kind of feeling quite a bit, like the nostalgia of something that isn't. But I'm thinking about how I wish that I had early on. I wish I had teachers like you, the way that you were talking about being an educator, through a place of just attention. Because I'm
Honestly,
thinking,
same.
yeah, I mean that's why that's. I guess that's the to get to the punchline before before waxing poetic. Like that's why we do this. That's why we build community. That's why we become educators. It's why we make art. It's like because you do it because you wish that you had seen it.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I'm just thinking about like all of my first visual artist ruined me for years. My first guitar teacher ruined me for years. It took me a long time to be able to be like, oh, this can be a conduit for, how my brain works. I always just thought like my brain works in this one way, and all these other people are like not showing me that I can channel that through this stuff.
What's a conduit definition, real quick?
Something that conducts, like
Oh, okay.
something that just channels.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, but to definitions of my art that are like based in other people's opinions and other people's perspectives and things that were told to me when I was a kid. And like I just realized that those words still have their teeth in my skin a little bit, and it stops me and it hurts me. And sadly for me it came from like a loved one, but it also in the same, I would never be here and like be as strongly rooted in my own truth now had I not like gone through that Yeah, it just took me 20 something years to like realize that I sort of wasn't doing this thing that I had done all my life in a truly authentic way for the past at least like later chunk of it. Yeah, and I missed that honesty, and I wanted that honesty back from being a child. Um, like you were mentioning, John.
Yeah. This is like I'm sort of my brain is swimming for so many different reasons. Normally I'm always like right in the flow of the conversation, and it just pinged something outside of it, which deeply relates. But I'm thinking about how I think that um, so I made an album. I released it in September, and one of the songs on it, I do this for my Patreon. I do this video series where I like talk more in depth about like, the origins of the songs and stuff, and like the process and all that. And the next one I have to do is kind of is going to be the biggest hurdle because it was the song that threw me into like a writer's block for like 8 months easily.
Oh,
um, but in finishing it, like I have such pride over who it is. Because it is a facet of me that I have never seen in another piece of my art. And it just took a lot to come out. It just took a lot of coaxing and convincing and patience and tending to that little child. I mean, it's just a little kid, and I think that's like maybe the sort of meeting place of a lot of these conversations right now is like, you know, very often being an artist requires communicating with the children inside of you, the different versions of you, um,
hell yeah.
all the many different faces. Most of me is a pretty scared and quiet and shy little boy, but there are definitely aspects that there's like the little punks. And I gotta try to
Totally.
relate to them, and so I was just thinking about this one song that I've got to talk about next month or this month really. Um, but like the fact that it was just so incredibly difficult because it was a part of me I had never really faced. Um,
What song is it? What's the title?
Leviathan,
Hmm. Ooh, Bible.
yeah,
Bible? Yes.
somewhat, yeah. It's like a little bit of a Job parallel. I love Job. That's such a good story. I love the book of Job for a very specific reason, which is the fact that I love how absolutely fucking bonkers people's interpretations of the book of Job are. um, like I've heard so many in so many different circles where people are like, somebody's like, "Oh, it means this," or, "Oh, you have to interpret it like that," and it's like, I mean, I have thoughts on it, but my thoughts are pretty visceral and pretty primal, I guess. But such a good weird book. That just is such a slice of a time, slice of a moment. It's like it was like totally relating to like pop storytelling of the moment. But that is
I might
totally
be projecting. Did you go to some sort of private school?
me.
Yes.
No, I homeschooled.
Oh,
I
cool.
just I just relate to that stuff because I came back to Judaism as a young adult. Um, so I'm a Jewish kid who just really likes mythology.
I love that.
Um, but no, it's kind of it's like a vague reference, just in the sense that um, Job. So for anybody who doesn't know, Job's story basically is um, he just gets shit on for for a really long time. Um, God is like kind of a dick, and he's like, I'm gonna shit on this guy for a while, and so he shits on him for a while, and for various reasons that he tries to describe later. Um, and then and then Job's like, everyone's like, "Yo, why is this happening? Why are we all dying around you?" And at first, Job is like, "I'm gonna be pious. I'm fine. Everything's cool. Like, guys, I guess we're supposed to die or whatever." And everyone's like, "No, that's not right." And then it becomes this weird like um, parallel of like Greek philosophers of the moment, where it just becomes this like long-winded like conversation on the meaning of life between a couple people, one of whom just had like insane trauma like occur to him. Um, and then at the very end, he like meets his breaking point, and he's like, "Yo, actually, what the fuck? Like, this is not what being a human is about. Why am I experiencing this suffering? I like need to be able to have a name for it. I'm just yearning for like why why do I experience suffering?" And then like God shows up and is like, "I'm not gonna tell you." And it's just like I love it because it's so deeply human. Like it's I don't relate to it because of like what God says. I relate to it because of how deeply human it is to just be like, I need to know something. I'm so hungry for knowledge. Like even amidst all of this horror, like I just need to know something.
Mm.
And the practice of like what mourning looks like amongst the search for comfort or the search for knowledge is a pretty intense one. Anyway, that's sort of
Mm.
like a huge tangent, but something that you said made me think of just the complexity of relating to myself in a song so different than who I've ever been, you know.
Wow. Jan and I were actually just talking about suffering the other day, about just like how it's, you know, it's like one of the only things that is promised in life. And I think growing up, we don't understand that. And then all of a sudden, like we're thrown into adulthood, bringing it back to this nostalgia, where like you didn't know as a kid that like we are all promised to experience great loss, and we are all promised to experience some sort of devastation, some, you know, and you name all the words, like we will experience that, and then there will be an end to it. And the older we get, the more that we realize, like, holy shit, I'm in this thing. Like, I'm moving, and these things are behind me. And you know, I think ultimately, like, as alone as you know, scary and as alone as we might feel in those feelings, like it's just insane to think that we are all, like, every single one of us are going through that.
Yeah.
And that is the importance of like giving yourself the space as an artist to capture how you are right now, be it as it may, like whatever, you know. I find myself judging my work a lot, I'm really trying to unlearn that. And my thing is always like, oh, I need to say it perfectly because I want it to be exactly what I mean, so that 10 years from now I'm not being offensive in any way, or like I'm on it with my language and I don't. And then I end up like working on a song for like 2 years, and it's like, holy cow, woman,
Yeah.
chill out.
Yeah.
Because all that matters is like the honesty and the connection, because that is what we're all doing here, I
Yeah.
think.
I think I think for sure. Yeah. That is all we're doing here. Yeah, I think mourning, suffering, grieving, like it's such an integral part of who we are. Um, I think I could think in ancient ways, like I could think in contemporary ways. I'll speak on contemporary ways, like in sustainability. There's like the concept of the circular economy, which is the integration of the idea of like where something came from, where it is, and where it's going. And there are multiple facets for like how you approach the circular economy. Um, you know, my T-shirt could have a tag on it that says, you know, this was made here. It's made by these things. Uh, you know, everything but this tag, let's say that for instance, everything but this tag can be shredded and thrown into your garden. The tag has a seed inside of it. You can plant it and it'll turn into, whatever, a pine tree. That would be that's an aspect of the circular economy. It is not the rejection of what happens at the end. It's the deep integration and the deep integration of what happens at the end as something is transmuted from one thing to another. And that's really powerful. I think that if that were reflected in a culture in facets as simple as clothing, or whatever, it would be much more easy to consume, in terms of who we are and what it looks like to suffer, what it looks like to feel complex emotions. I feel suffering often because often suffering is not simply, oh, somebody has died, but that I didn't expect it, or that I didn't prepare myself to understand it, or that nobody prepared me to understand what's happening. That's often the suffering of life,
Absolutely.
Or to not realize exactly what you just said, that we're all we're all experiencing suffering, and that's an integral part of being a human. It's not something you want to go through your life rejecting. No one gets out of that,
Yes.
And it's not to say it's good. I could sit here and be like, and that's what makes it good. It's the counterpoint to happiness. But I don't think that's true. I just think it's true that we all experience suffering. It's not a good thing. It's not like a predestined, beautiful, wonderful thing. It's just true.
Right. Exactly. The same way that we're going to all experience, name an emotion, happiness or whatever. But acceptance. Why did I begin saying that? Acceptance, accepting the suffering, or accepting that truth, I think is a practice. Clearly, you're not just going to have it one day, but I think it makes it there's less fight. There's less getting in your own way, running from things, running from feelings. And then as an artist, ultimately it's unclogging you, so that you can be receptive. And when I'm saying you, I'm just speaking about me. I connect with everybody.
Yeah, to unclog. I mean, and if the conversation is on everybody being an artist, it's also just the concept of unclogging anybody, to provide empathy, to provide empathy towards self, introspection, and empathy. Something we're seeing tangibly. We're seeing what cultures look like when those practices are not put in place.
Yeah. John, did I interrupt you? I saw you unmute for a second.
No. But anyway. Yeah. There's this something I've been trying to type. It's kind of long already, so I'll just say it out loud, I guess. So,
Awesome.
I'm trying. There's a through line, I guess, in the conversation that we had. Beginning with the innocence of youth, up towards Leviathan, etc. So, it started with, I wrote this down. It started with, what's amazing about this conversation is that it kind of reframes maybe how I think we should approach art. Maybe we should just make as we make, not too concerned with formalities, but just diving into experimentation and then just declaring it as we were children. And then when Jacob started talking about Job, I'm not terribly familiar with the story, but as far as I as far as I remember, it was about his piousness. Is that a word? It's about his faith and what this evil's place in the world. So what essentially, you may correct me if I'm wrong, but what essentially happened was Everything was taken away from him. He was, in some aspects, tortured. And at the end of the day, what was left was his faith. As what was left was his belief. And then I guess in the same way, we could say that about art, about our own
Mm.
creativity. If we remove everything that society assigns to be success, like fame, recognition, awards, or even just the approval of others, then essentially at the end of the day, you still have your art because it's something your creativity. It's something that's yours. It's something that cannot be taken away from you. And in some aspects, you just have to declare it. And then this comes around to the concept of authenticity and honesty in your craft because I feel that the more honest you are, I mean, the more honest it feels like is when you just let your inhibitions go in making your art, when you try to experiment, when you try to make things just for the sake of making things. Now, this is not to say that we just keep on starting new pet projects and that not finish anything, but allowing yourself to have the time to have to engage in the process, even if that means stepping away for a bit and then coming back to it, even if it means suffering. At the end of the
Mm.
day, if it's your creativity, you get to express it, but only if you let yourself. And I think that's a quality that other people can see, especially with your art. Recently, I've been rewatching for some reason Avatar and that what was it? What what's the name of the season?
Last
But
Airbender.
anyway, yeah, The Last Airbender, and I just came to this episode where the in the second season the love generation kind of guy he just sings, he strums the guitar and he sings. It's the story of Omashu if you're familiar. And then he just sings because love will find a way, those kinds of ooey gooey stuff. But it in some aspects it made me laugh because there's just literally a melody and he's just narrating what's happening. But at the same time, it's fun. It's experimental. Jacob has been sharing recently a friend of his, Jason, who does this live Instagram concerts from time to time. And
Yeah.
what I like about listening to him when he plays is that he's just playing. He seems like he's having so much fun doing that. But you can see, I guess, the kind of authenticity, the kind of honesty that that he really feels at the moment because that is him at his element. And I guess we when we grew up and realized the horrors of life, realize that suffering is the only suffering is the only guaranteed thing in life. I guess we were, as Jacob said, we it's not about something bad happening to you. It's just that you're not prepared for what that is, and that feeling of not
Mm.
being prepared is what really scares us, because not being prepared means not knowing what other people might think. Not being prepared means not knowing what you might be able to bring out into the world. And in making things, especially, I guess this is true for every art form. When you're making it by yourself, it feels nice. It feels, oh my God, this is something that I should show the world. Fuck it, I'm gonna release this tomorrow. But when your baby is out there, it's exposed to everyone.
Yeah, it's in the
It's
wild.
it's and sometimes people would appreciate it for what it is, or I guess they can relate to it. But there are really those, and you can't stop it. There are really those who may say some things that to them may be benign, but to you would mean something really difficult. And so I guess remembering that at the end of the day, it's not, well, of course, the audience matters, but it's not so much about what they have to say, but it's about what you have to express. And by bringing it out there, I guess it makes us more human. It makes us more understanding of each other. That while in the beginning, as Gorang has shared, in the first few videos, it's not his first few videos. He was not so sure if he was doing any good work. But as you go on with that process, as you compound that every day that you try to do the work, that you try to express your art in the most honest and authentic way that you can, I guess that builds the kind of confidence in you that's also making you more humble in a sense.
Mm.
Okay, so I'm a talker as well, if you've guessed.
If you have that
Yeah.
typed up, please, well, I guess we have this recorded, but that was, yeah, hell yeah.
Yes. Big yes. Also, just quick interjection. I talk about Jason Anderson to everybody because Nayem, I sent you I sent you his Instagram.
Yeah.
I love that man so dearly. He's one of my biggest musical and just human inspirations. And funny enough, maybe John knows this, which is maybe why you'd said this, but Leviathan is also about him. So that's a full circle.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. No, he's what a great musician. He's such a good musician for exactly those reasons that John laid out. It's just he's so deeply authentic. All through the beginning of the quarantine, I would watch him and I'd just be in his house with him. And he would just be in his house with loved ones. And every time somebody would join his little Instagram live, he would know who it was and he'd say them by name and he'd say, "I miss you," and "I'm thinking about you." And he would sing and he would go hoarse and he would go red faced and he would stand on his chair and he would jump around and he would cry all in the same video, and it is so human.
That is so inspiring.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
To get to like
Neil.
semantic. Oh, I'm sorry. Just something John said. He said, to do this stuff makes you more human, and it made me think about like the word humanity is something that kind of sits in my head a lot. How we relate to the word humanity. It's like it's a word we just kind of throw off like it's nothing. But what a beautiful and complex and poetic word. That's all I have to say. Nayem, you were going to ask Neil something.
Oh, I just I thought I might have ran over Neil when he was going to say something, so I was going to ask him.
Oh,
I
I
agree with
wasn't
you.
saying anything. I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like the one. I mean, it's not even about the human race. I mean, it is, but it's like all that the human race presents and encompasses every single individual experience, and at the same time, the one lived experience that we go through.
It's like when we talk about humanity, like this is what's so beautiful about it. When we talk about the word humanity, whenever anybody uses the word humanity, they're not talking about the economy. They're not talking about stocks. They're not talking about how fast our cars are. They're talking about the quintessential aspect of what it is to be a person, and that's how we relate to one another. That's it.
Oh my God, yes. I don't want to let myself like go off, but I am.
Go off. Good.
But then I just so like this fucking year for me has been just like so enlightening, and it's those things. It's like things that you tell yourself that you know, and then you learn it again. You're like, oh, I didn't know that. Now I know. And so much of trying to find my real honesty without sort of painting it for somebody else, um, without worrying about the reader, the listener, whatever. It has it keeps bringing me back to the constructs of society and how much that has sort of changed my understanding of art. Is like, oh, you need to go to school, you know, or sort of thinking like there's these steps to being an artist. And like, absolutely not, there is not. That is, I mean, when we find like very old art, whether, you know, like in caves, and things like that, like that person was not like, I am an artist and I am expressing my art for it to be studied and understood. Like that person is just expressing themselves, and it doesn't matter what comes of it. It's communication. And I just, oh man, art became sort of simultaneous, what's the word, synonymous with money for me for a little while, where I was like, that's just how I understood my time, instead of what it is to me. Like that definition of art is not mine. That is something that I learned. That is something that I learned through the like constructs of society, and like all of this time alone. Not really alone. I have, you know, Jana and family, but this time not actively in society has made me realize like I can live in a society while not wanting to internalize that. That
Yeah.
can be what I know I need to move in, but that is not my truth. And I think that's sort of where I've come to, where it's like what I have to say will find the person it resonates with. And even if that person is nobody, it resonated with me. And I like put that effort out there for myself. And I'm spiritual in the sense of the universe. And I feel as though I captured a bit of the universe that wanted to express herself.
Yeah.
And I put it out there.
That part is really hard still for me. And I work on it every day. And I live that as much as I can. But, you know, the one part that I think I stopped at for a really long time was like, you know, basically if I can make something, and that make something is, you know, just like I said before, make a smile and it's received by one person, or make a song and it resonates with one person in some lasting way, then I've done my job. And I think for a long time I stopped there. And yeah, I think the part I've sort of treated it like a different thing, but it really is one and the same. Like even if I don't, even if a piece or a moment in my life doesn't impact anybody else, but it impacts me, then I've done my job. Extremely hard to unlearn everything to get there, I think.
Totally. Oh my God. I mean, the way they teach us, it's not meant to be unlearned. This is not what is supposed to happen.
Yeah. So this is also funny. Leviathan also encompasses the feeling of or like portraiture of old cave paintings. I do this thing when I make a song, when I make a poem or something, where I have scenes and I have like entire like imagery and things that I'm pulling from that I'm then talking about in the abstract, so that you might never know that I'm talking about that thing, but you're very much talking about like the concept of the parallels between like ancient wall art and like graffiti that we see today, or like
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Oh my God, I never thought about that.
Yeah. It's just magic, you know? I mean, we do this art thing and it's just magic. And it's like sometimes I go through my day and I think how the fuck are we not all screaming like with like cackling with joy that we can actually do this thing? Like what the fuck is happening? Why this is so cool.
Dude, yes. Yeah. I go to certain music for like my dopamine check. Like I was sitting at the table with Jana the other day, and I was like, I need dopamine. Like I need to like find a new artist, and I need that feeling of like of being like, ah, yes, they hit the spot. Like now I am full. Because it is so joyous, and I think that that sort of also comes back to that idea of like accepting suffering. Because for me personally, accepting and fully feeling everything that comes with being fucking alive has made it that I can have just pure moments of like euphoric joy in art, in conversation with somebody, in eye contact with a baby or a grown baby. Like it's it is so much of like like we are going through this together.
Yeah.
And some versions of the universe in my understanding of the world end up exploding into song or into dance or into poetry or into a photograph or into video and editing and yeah, it's fucking joyous.
Yeah. Yeah. I spend a lot of time thinking about that and writing about that and talking about the concept of like joy and mourning being one and the same, you know, two parts of the same thing.
Oh my god, reminds me of the love-hate thing we talked about.
Yeah, yeah. But speaking of, this is always the worst moment for me. But as we get pretty far into this long conversation, which is extremely good, and I would like to keep going. We can keep going, but we should just all kind of begin to think about ending. So if there's any questions or thoughts outside of what we've been talking about, or something you didn't get to ask or talk about, I would say now's your chance for the next like let's call it like 15 minutes. That'll be your chance. But yeah, let's keep it rolling.
So like just basically just hearing the entire conversation, how it started from um, like giving a first experience to a small kid, and experiencing for the first time a music or reacting to music for the first time or just learning something new for the first time, to everything that life has to offer. What like some sort of a thought that I've formed to so far is that um, when you grow up, when you're just born into the world, you're born with your good things, your bad things, and basically the things that is pretty basic for everyone, like
Mm.
a purity, a sense of just like yeah, just discovering something new, and just just that purity of not having any inhibitions or something that you've learned previously, just having that purity of the first reaction, that being real, being absolutely real from the first moment to anything that new, to anything that you experience. And then when you sort of grow up, you go into this thing that the world starts teaching you about certain things, that yeah, this is supposed to be done that way, this is supposed to be done that way. And you go ahead and you sort of become a part of this mechanical world where everyone and everything is taught in the same way, and you sort of become a part of that. And along the way, you realize, you get into the how it is acceptable for the world to live, you get into that notion, and you start living like that. But then a person come up, one sudden day, or one sudden moment, you realize, okay, I don't think that's wrong, because I'm not happy with it. And then
Mm.
basically it's the entire journey of just unlearning all the things that you don't like, and going back to the basics of being a child, in order to form a sort of a world around you which makes you happy. And I'm not sure whether that all of this makes sense, but just the thought of uh, going back to the basics of being the child, being, just going to that, just going back into that phase of just absolute purity where you basically unlearn all the mechanical things that you've been taught in life to going back to doing something that you just genuinely, from the first reaction, you love, and basically forming a world around you, a life around you, which is just based on the things that you actually love and that make you happy, rather than things that were taught to you in this sort of a mechanical world just because it's acceptable by most people, so it has to be accepted by you also.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether I was able to summarize everything that was going on in my head, but like that's what I have actually thought of. Maybe it will be refined over, and I can send it later as a message. But like, yeah, that's the thought I had in my mind all through the while I was listening to you, and to all of you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I think
love that.
yeah, beautifully concise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
I feel like
Yeah.
it's like going back to where the adult said no as a child, and you go back as the adult you and you say yes.
Yeah, something like that.
No, no, it's okay.
Yeah, those chances to revisit it, it's like that's also not taught to us. There, it's kind of like one and the same as like not taught how to grieve, but like the chance that we can go back into us. Most of the time, it's because the people who are teaching us don't know this either, you know. But the fact that you can go back into you and you can reconstruct that. You can take those moments where you said no, and you can get a second chance and say yes.
Yes, and like I came across this thing that was said by Will Smith in an interview, where he said that a lot of times, like parents and people, and just people who are supposed to teach us, uh, the one thing that they also have to be very, like he's learned this as a parent, that one thing that is supposed to work for them is not necessarily going to be supposed to be working for the other person that they're trying to teach. So the perfect way to educate someone, or to just tell someone, or just to guide someone in life, is supporting their journey in life rather than forcing your own life onto them. Because what might have worked for
Absolutely.
you does not necessarily mean that that's exactly something that will be working for them. So rather than telling them to not make a mistake, or not telling, or staying away from something just because you thought that that was not your place, so you stayed away from that, rather than doing that, just support them so that they have their own journey, and they have their own mistakes, and they have their own life. Because yeah, what worked for you, what worked or did not work for you, necessarily is not gonna end up exactly the same for them.
Yeah, 100%. I agree, Will Smith. I don't know how much this relates, but I think about it a lot, and it's relating to me right now. Something that my girlfriend Claire and I have talked about and do is sometimes everybody has difficulties in their childhood. Everybody has hardships and their own traumas. Everybody experiences the grieving of realizing that they've had trauma and whatnot. I think, and one thing that we've talked about is like basically providing the space for each other enough that the that each reflect like each respective like inner child gets the chance to just feel peace and to feel a different sort of love and unconditional affection. And sometimes as like what's almost become, at least for me, I don't know if she thinks about it actively. I think maybe yes, but for me, sometimes it's an act of healing to be the giver or the receiver in the moment where I'll just like, kiss her forehead or something. And then, and we've had conversations where it's like a little tiny Claire needed that, and vice versa, like the little Jake needed that just now. And I think that that's sort of like I don't think it's right to call it like revisionist because that has a very negative connotation, but like truly the rewriting, the opportunity to have a second life to something,
Oh yeah.
I think that I'm just gonna keep dot for a second. At one point, I think John wrote down something that I had said about memories. Oh, Nayem wrote down, "What are we besides memories?" And I think that that's not only true, but also the magic of being able to manipulate that in our lives. Like we are exclusively
That's
the
what he
memories that
said.
we hold, and also we get to manipulate those memories extensively.
I mean, totally. It's like kind of insane. We're like little magicians.
Yeah.
If you like grant yourself the power, I think. And I really love the that offering of like vulnerability that you just gave because I totally 100% that is like one of my biggest practices is like little Nayem just always talking to her and she's always been there. She's always there. She is me, but she's also not me. And um this whole time she has been begging for me to listen to her. She's like, "Hello, me. No, I'm the one that needs the attention right now."
Yeah.
And that sort of and this came about in therapy, which I highly recommend. Um,
Yes.
um,
Agreed.
uh, this is the little Nayam talk came out, and I realized that by ignoring her and like being like, "Shut up, stop it," I was doing exactly what was done to little Nayam in real life when I was little Nayam, and I was like, I can change that narrative. And it's not like it didn't happen, but it's like she's totally still here. Why can I not go back into that space as I am now, being that person that like she was so excited to be, and fucking parent her and love her the right way or the way that works best for me now. And and yeah, and it's like one of the best unblocking things as well for my art as well. It's just like let her say the petty thing. Like, just say it, do it, whatever. Let it out.
Yeah. That's so beautiful and freeing. Hmm. Maybe that's the period on the sentence. I don't know.
I was about to say something and then I just figured out that maybe I disconnected. But anyway, um, uh, it's nice that this part was also brought up, but because I guess in many ways, when you get to a certain age and you get to a certain milestone, you start thinking about the past decades of your life. And this year, I feel like it's become a clarifying lens for me because yes, that little John was also kept in the dark for so long and denied the kind of speaking. And the more I get in tune with what it means to be creative, what it means to be not even to be an artist, but just to make art and share it, the more I am conflicted with keeping that silent voice down. And I guess it's a very beautiful way to put it that way as well. But yeah, I guess maybe well for this just to tangent just to bring a tangent topic with some of the future things that are going to be happening in this community. I was just wondering that maybe what is what are the things that we can do to cultivate this
Mm,
childlike um innocence, not really innocence, but just to give space to each and every one of us, and to just let ourselves create. Let's just let ourselves be artists, and to let go of that notion that art should be something as a community. How do you think? What do you think we can do about that? I mean, it's a societal thing, but at least in our own community, I think there must be something we can do, right?
yeah. Wow. 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 Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna be thinking on that all night. I'm gonna try not to think about it tomorrow, but the day after that, I'm gonna think about it.
I apologize. Happy birthday,
No,
Jacob.
no, thank you. That's totally okay. Uh, I
I
said that.
think if anything, that could be like a blessing of something to think about on your birthday because it's like a celebratory thing,
Yeah, it is.
at
It is.
least.
I'm just. I said to Claire like earlier today. I really am gonna make sure
Nothing.
to think about anything tomorrow. No, but wow, I love that so much. I mean, I think that
I know.
I've like very this is gonna become like a mod conversation, but like I've very like cautiously worked. We've very cautiously worked to try to like introduce those concepts subtly, in terms of um, last month we had a channel called like 30 Days of Gratitude, and it was a space where people could just post things they're grateful for every single day if they wanted, and that
Oh,
could be
that's
big,
awesome.
small, and it was so beautiful because sometimes you could tell that it was I don't want to say basic, but it was just like it was maybe not it was not being super vulnerable, it might have been like, I'm grateful for this or whatever. And then there were some and it was just you could see it was just flourishing. It was just coming out. And we're doing that again this month and we'll do that again forever. Something different every month. And I think there's something so beautiful about the concept of like having a community that provides the ability for somebody to play in a sandbox in such a way that they're gaining some I don't want to say like real world tool because that what the fuck is a real world, but like some humanity, a tool for humanity, right? Um, and so like that playing, oh my god, I'm thinking right now about like what is that game called? God, it has such a funny name. I cannot remember what it's called. Anyway, like if I
What
started, I like
what's
started
the
drawing
game?
you, and then you like keep drawing to it, and then something
Yeah,
corpse. Is that what it's called? Exquisite Corpse, isn't that what it's called?
I didn't know there was a name. Like there was a name to it. I feel like I just did that with people.
Isn't that such a fun name? Exquisite Corpse. Yeah, I'm gonna drop the Wikipedia because I love Wikipedia. Um,
Exquisite corpse. I thought it was explicit. What? Anyway.
um, yes, exquisite. Cadavre exquis. Um, but yeah, it's like I think about that as like a starting point for like being very willing to not care about the end result. I guess maybe this is sort of like related, John, but um, like you can make somebody play a game like that far easier than you can make somebody like read the artist's way, which would be a very valid way to get somebody to learn how to tend to their inner artist, but is also like not accessible for some of our like 16-year-old members. Um, but like Exquisite Corpse would be a great way. This really is going to quickly become a moderation chat, but Google offers like a service. Oh, I can't remember what it's called. I can't find it, but they offer like a thing where you can communally draw on a page, and that would be really fun to like employ that kind of thing. Everybody can just like draw on the same page.
I would love that so much.
I'm gonna find it. What is it called?
I think it's called like Google Board or something, or like
Board or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, we played with it once because you remember I sent it to Sophie to do
yeah.
It was fun. I'm looking for it right now. Classroom, Hangouts, slides. There's so much Google stuff.
Yeah.
It might be Classroom. That's not what it was called before, but I might have changed the name of it. Slides, keep Jamboard. What a weird name.
Wait,
What?
what was it?
It's called Jamboard.
Oh, I don't remember
Is it?
that.
I'm making a new jam, and I'm sharing it with you
Okay. Why not?
guys. Resident Artist Jam. This is the exact way that I want to slowly end this call. Anyone who gets the link, copy link, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Amazing.
This is perfect. Can you imagine like asking the entire community to collaborate on a drawing?
That would be fun.
That's
For a
how
bunch of 16-year-olds? My God, Jake.
add an image. It says
I
I can
think
add
it
an
would be very fun though.
Yes, I really think so. I'm gonna drop an image in there.
And I guess as to the concern of age, I mean, we keep talking about we make things because we wanted these when we were younger, and now it's not like we're telling them that this is what you should want, but just really, I hope that the younger ones in the community would grow up to know that there's such a place that allowed them to do this, that
Yeah.
allowed them to just be themselves, essentially.
Yes.
Man, if I had this space when I was 16, are you kidding me?
Can you all draw
John,
on this?
I think for me, it's in, oh my God, this picture. It's it's in view only mode, so you have to
No. Wait,
like allow access.
shit. Hold up. I can do this.
I'm loving this.
Okay, everybody can
John,
add.
I wanted to say something to one of the things that you said, just an idea that popped into me head, which was that, like, how do we treat others in that way, in that sort of like tending to giving them the space of like a child getting to play freely. And I think, I mean, something that I started seeing once I started working with kids, okay, this is gonna sound weird, but I started to be able to see the baby in everyone I came across. Like if I just looked deep enough and I listened deep enough, I could hear the kid talking, or I could see what the kid was feeling behind the like controlled adult emotion. So like I wonder if it is sort of that like always being receptive and open and loving the way that we do with children, with babies, but also real, you know. I don't like, you know, it's not like coddling, but it's, you know, allowing them to show up how they do.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in. Am I in? Wait.
We had a channel in October of us where we posted our baby photos or kid photos and costumes. That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm drawing with my a really small touchpad. Wait, a few minutes ago I got a request for access. You can draw on it, right, Nayem?
Yes, I can.
It was just like delayed. Wild. Oh, there's another page going on. Is that true? No, there's just one page. Ooh, disappearing. This is now going to make for terrible audio for for the recording.
This is a little abstract moment that anyone can add to.
Yes. Yes. Oh, this is so great. This
How
laser-
am I just finding this now? This is fun.
I feel like my smiley face is honestly the best smiley face that I've just ever made. Ever. Period.
Is this your smiley face?
Yeah. It's saying
Nice.
hi. Wow, did you just draw my smiley face, Jake? Damn.
It's the laser tool, so it goes away. Isn't that
It's a
fun?
laser tool. Oh my god. Oh,
Yeah, like
there's the laser tool. Oh my god. Wow, this is fantastic.
Have you guys ever played that game where you flick the pen across the screen? I mean the paper. There's like two bases, and then you try to infiltrate the other base by flicking the pen.
Oh yeah, it's like table football or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah.
Oh
It's very
yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
At
I'm doing this on my iPad, and it's fun.
I like this little guy. He's cool.
My little guy?
The dude bro with the glasses.
Oh, that guy's really cool. My guy's a knife though.
Oh no. That
It's a cool
suddenly
knife.
makes the little smiley face next to him saying hi look very devious.
He's kind. He's got kind eyebrows.
There we go.
Wait,
He's like, I'll kill you, but I'll be nice about it.
maybe I'll give, I know what I'll do. I'll give him Dan Levy eyebrows.
Oh my god. Oh! I'm sorry. Raise my face.
This is such I'm so glad that this is happening and that this is part of an audio recording. Just truly the most wonderful thing in the entire world. So maybe this is how we slowly come to an end. And I'll do all my outro stuff and then we can keep doing this. But I'm extremely grateful for this chat and for having you with us, Nayem.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome. I'm very grateful to get to be a part of this now and then to continue to.
Yes. We some of you here are mods, but some of you are not. And Nayem and I were talking about maybe next month doing a live show, having Oat Milk do a show.
Hell yeah. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
For sure.
Maybe this will be the announcement drawing.
Yes. No one will have any clue what's going on.
Yeah. Wait, or can I think I can add text.
I don't know how to delete
Oh,
this
can
shape thing.
do not delete it. But no other information. Just put oat milk on it.
Yes. And then like that
That is art.
Yep.
Definitely.
Well, to be honest, I think John, this is the way. Maybe we do like an infrequent thing where anybody can join and like be part of the voice chat, and then also just be drawing together. I think that's how you start to deconstruct the parameters of like high art, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's fun because, it's a shared thing. At the same time, you don't have to really do anything.
Yeah. We get to jam together. The jam board. Perfect. So here's how funny my relationship to Earth is. Like all things origin of Jake, sort of stoic. My relationship to being like another year older is not like a bad one. It's just like, yes, this is my charge. And that's sort of like the origin of it. And now I relate very differently to it. But I'm always still working on it. And I think the funny thing is just that when I knew that this chat was going to be scheduled today, I was like, oh yeah, it's like a day before my birthday. Cool. Okay, has like nothing to do with it because it's not my birthday. And then right before we even started, Daniel was like, "Hey, happy birthday! It's your birthday where I am." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I guess it is. Okay." And now that I get to think about it in real time, I'm just like, I'm extremely grateful that I get to ring in that with all of you doing this. That's just, there's nothing better than that. So thank you.
Happy birthday, Jacob.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm gonna treat it very stoically and also joyously.
The only way Jake does. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Yep.
But seriously, thank you all for this conversation. This has been a lot of fun. And a happy early birthday to you, Jake. I will be texting you in the morning, bright and early. Don't you worry.
Perfect.
And yeah, thank you guys again. Seriously.
Yeah. Thanks everybody.
Happiest of birthdays to you, Jake, and your contribution to this world and creating community. I mean, it's right here on this page. You, you are awesome. I'm so grateful for you. I'm sure I speak for a lot of people in saying that. And yeah, you're fucking great. I hope you feel good, or you feel whatever you feel. But I'm happy that you're here and that we get to celebrate you.
Wow, thank you so much. It means a lot. I'm happy to be here with everybody, with y'all here and with the y'alls that aren't here. But yeah, for real. I'm so grateful. I guess on that, I'll talk to you all in text chats. Probably there will be more thoughts to come in the office hours chat after this gets done. And yeah, I look forward to seeing both you, Nayem, and Jama, everywhere and anywhere that you want to belong in this space. It's yours.
Okay, great. I'm excited to explore around. I'm having a little bit of like user grandma effect where I'm like, what is the buttons? What are these? But we'll figure it out.
We're working on making it easier to understand. So give us a couple weeks, I guess.
It's
But
great.
awesome. Cool. All right, everybody. I love you all. I love getting to share this space with you. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank
Bye,
you
all.
so much.
All right, guys.
Bye,
Bye.
guys. Keep
Much
safe.
love to
Bye-bye.
everybody.